We did it! We sang together, and we entered and rejoiced, and we came in. Now let us sing together again. If you were here last year, you know we introduced an Introit. Come, come, whoever you are. Know these words are not written anywhere, so if you don't know them, this is your invitation to come and come again until you do know them. So please join me. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Beautiful. Now with our official welcome, as well as today's announcements, Reverend Monica Dobbins.
Good morning. Welcome in. It's great to see all of you. Yes, we've got announcements. You know how it goes. Beginning of the year, there's a lot of things going on. Time to sign up for all the things. If you haven't signed up yet for small group ministry, registration is open. We've still got several groups with plenty of room for you to join. We're also trying to form 2 groups, and I don't know if it's going to work. It really depends on you. We're trying to form a group on Zoom for those who don't want to get out at night, for people with hearing issues, all kinds of stuff, any reason that you might want to join on Zoom instead of going out. Please consider signing up for that group. I would also love to sign up a group for parents with kids. We have got a number of qualified teenagers who can provide childcare and would like to make some money, and they would like for you to have an opportunity to be in a part of a small group. If you've got small kids and that's keeping you from being part of a group, we would love to put a group together, but it really depends on having enough folks. So if either of these groups or another group sound like something you want to be a part of, please register right away. Now, Tuesday night, I hear that there's some kind of television event going on. We are still going to be here on Tuesday night writing postcards to encourage voters to get out and vote. So please come on Tuesday. If you can write and listen at the same time, if you promise not to scribble on your postcard while you're listening, I will be here. I probably won't write as many postcards as I did the other night, but I will say that we did about 400 postcards last week. We had 20 people. Yeah. I think that reaching our goal of 2,000 is going to be a piece of cake, but it really depends on you. So come out on Tuesdays, every Tuesday from now until probably mid-October. This Saturday night, this is going to be the place to be. We have the Stratford Big Band, plus our special guest, Sue Buzzard, on the violin, with a welcome back party for our church. Please bring your dancing shoes, bring a chair if you'd like to have a seat, bring an easy-to-serve snack to share. It's BYOB if you want something besides water to drink. And we're also encouraging you to bring a canned good to donate for Crossroads Food Pantry. Now, don't party too hard on Saturday night, because Sunday, after the second service, we're going to have a training for our small group facilitators. If you are a current facilitator, if you are a rotating facilitator, if you would like to be a facilitator, or if you just want to learn something new and meet new people, come and join me at about 12:30 on next Sunday afternoon after the second service. You don't have to register, just show up. Sunday the 22nd, is our annual activities fair, where you can come and learn about what our teams are up to for this year. So what's a team? Well, a team at First Church is a group of people who share their time and experience in volunteering for our church. Some of the teams include the Music Now team, the Caring team, or the Environmental Ministry team. They're all looking for new faces and new ideas, and the activities fair is where you can come and learn about that. There's one team in particular that can't wait for the activities fair, and that is our hospitality team. This team is made up of greeters, coffee folks, and welcome table volunteers, and they need people right now. So if you'd like to learn more about that, just stop by the welcome table on your way out and find out how you can participate. And finally, I promise, finally, last, we want you to save the date for the last weekend in October, when we will be joining with South Valley UU in Cottonwood Heights and congregations all across the country for a climate justice revival. Registration is now open for our workshop. It's happening on Saturday, what did I say? You said October. Oh, goodness. September 28th and 29th. The workshop is on September 28th. It's at South Valley. The reason why, there's a football game right here. So there won't be anywhere to park, so we have to have it down at South Valley. The registration form is now live, and we really want you to sign up right away so we know how many people to buy breakfast for. Then the next day, on Sunday, we're going to have a special worship service right here in our church and a celebration with our environmental ministry team, who have some important news to share with you. We want everybody to sign up, participate, and help bring in a new year of UU action for the climate. If you didn't get all that, because I know it was a fire hose of information, you can find all of that on our website or in our weekly torch email. And now, we are ready to begin the work of worship together. We settle in, take a breath, find ourselves in this time and space. And we open with these words by my colleague, the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin. Come, let us enter this space of hope and opportunity. Come, let us enter this space with our sorrows, our joys, our passion, and compassion. Come, let us enter this space with the stories of our ancestors, for their strength and wisdom beats in our hearts. Come into this space, present to the beloved companions who move beside us. Come into this space, mindful that together we are building a future for other generations. Come into this space, and let us worship. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together number 1024.
And when you get lost, down at the bottom of the first page are the new words that we're singing. All right? So we go do, sing, dance, laugh, shout, and then what? Do again, right.
Spirit says do. You got to do what the Spirit says.
did it again. Yes. My friends, I am so happy to say that we have a brand new group of lay ministers this year. If you are newer to the church, lay ministers are lay people, usually about 3 or 4 a year, who work with me throughout the year to craft mini sermons and on different topics and to deliver them to you. You will see them just about once a month, every month until May. They will be speaking on different topics. The first month's lay minister topic, that is this September, is why I'm a UU. Basically, what brought me here, why am I here in this church, worshiping and building community with all of you. I thought that would be a great way for us to get to know everybody before we get into different topics. And I'm very happy to welcome our very first lay minister of this year, talking about why he is a UU, Brandon Checketts. Please give him a round of applause as he comes on up.
Good morning. This is my first time at the 9 o'clock, but I see you all. I see you. All right, I promised it wouldn't be over 7 minutes, so I'm going to get right at it. 10 years ago, I was serving a mission for an unspecified religion, riding a bike 10 plus miles a day, in the 100-degree Central California desert heat. I was 18 years old and had a message to share that I literally believed would save the world. 10 years ago, I found myself in the rundown mobile home of James with his 10-plus cats and their far more than 10 pee stains, leaving behind a 0 out of 10 pleasant smell. But it was worth it. I had a message to share that answered every existential question of life. 10 years ago, I met Jill, who exclaimed with conviction and sincerity that God had told her that my religion was false and hers was correct. Yet, hours later, I listened to Bill explain with equal conviction and sincerity that God had told him that Jill's religion was false and his was correct. Weeks later, I met Jamie, who kindly explained the troubling history of not just my religion, Jill's or Bill's, but of all the major world religions. That's a rabbit hole we won't go down today, but suffice it to say, I was shaken. I've always been a thinker. Sometimes I think too much. It's one of my strengths and weaknesses. By the time I returned home, I had with me a long list of things I genuinely loved and believed about my religion, and an equally long list of concerning issues I had tucked away, issues that were demanding my attention. For the next 3 years, I went through the painstaking process of inspecting and dissecting all these issues and the belief system that had defined my identity and worldview. In this time, I married a woman, even though I knew I was gay, and even though she also knew I was gay. Still, she and I continued down the path we believed was right. Spoiler alert, she and I are no longer married, yet remain great friends as we co-parent our beautiful 5-year-old son. Back to the story. At times, I'd confront the questions that scared me most. What if this entire belief system I've invested so much into isn't really what it claims to be? Who would I be? What sense of life meaning and purpose would be left? Where would I go? Long story short, after traveling down the rabbit holes of my religion's religious history, philosophy, and theology, I made my departure. Simply put, I could no longer get behind the literal truth claims and historic claims of my former faith. If others can, that's okay, but I could not. At first, the departure was thrilling, even liberating. It was open skies and open seas ahead. I visited 14 countries, explored philosophical ideas that were previously forbidden, experienced the fine arts, made new friends. I even tried the devil's brew. Yes. At age 24, I took my first sip of coffee. I proudly owned my story as an ex-Mormon. I developed an aversion to anything or anyone that even smelt like religion or the conservative principles I once espoused. Yet, the thrill of it all eventually faded. I still continued shamelessly enjoying all these previously mentioned things, but I felt an unexpected ache, a loss of a void in my heart. I realized that while my previous faith system had, and still has, significant issues related to its history, truth claims, and positions on social issues, and I'm not minimizing those, it wasn't all bad. In divorcing my former religion and anything that even faintly resembled it, I had divorced some of the things that genuinely make me me. Yet, I also knew I couldn't go back. And I had no interest in converting to a new religion. By now, religion and church-going felt like a dusty, old-school concept anyway. Surely I could find the meaning, purpose, and connection I craved through friends, concerts, books, ecstatic dances, nonprofit involvement, nature, and family, right? Well, sort of. For many people, they can. But for me, my craving for something that feels like a church with familiar faces, ritual, meaning-making, music, spiritual exploration, and an intentional space for my son to learn morals and principles persisted. That's when I found y'all. After spending the previous 2 years of my life leading with who I'm not and what I don't believe, I found somewhere where I could safely and freely reconstruct who I am and what I do believe, in community. I found somewhere that prioritizes principles and values over dogma and creed. I learned to sit with the nuances and polarities of non-dualist truth. I may not ever again be able to definitively answer the big existential questions of life. But in the meantime, I've found a place where I can celebrate the beauty and meaning life gifts us every day, remaining open and curious to new beliefs and possibilities, and making space for, even finding value in, beliefs outside my own. In this community, I learned that I can still tap into what's sacred, holy, and dare I say, divine, without knowing God's name or if an anthropomorphic God even exists. I found a group of people that, while we may be unsure of a literal heaven beyond this life, are more committed than any group I've ever been a part of to creating heaven in this life. Last November, as we planted thousands of trees, helping restore the natural habitat of the Bear River Massacre site, I felt immense gratitude for this group. It's still hard for me to call us a church, even though I know we are. I looked at those infant trees we had just planted and looked forward to coming back to that site, maybe 10 years from then, as I witnessing their growth and my own as I continue embracing the principles and values of this faith. And that's why I'm here. May it be so.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here, and those far away, for this time we share, with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. My friends, the basket is about to go around asking for donations that literally put the lights on in our church. And as the basket goes around, this is also your time to greet each other and maybe greet somebody you don't already know if they're around you. The offering for the work of the church will now be received. So, by the way, I'm Reverend J Sylvan. I am the senior minister here at First Unitarian Church as of just about a year ago. It is Ingathering, which in the Unitarian tradition means we come back together after whatever it was we were doing. It is the start of our church year. And so I feel a pressure to say something especially profound at these services. And I can't promise that that's what happened, but I will say that today's sermon was actually inspired by our lay minister, Brandon Checketts' mini-sermon. In his mini-sermon, he had a line about how, and this maybe was just in the draft, and I don't know if it stayed, but at least at some point, he said how he didn't want to define himself by what he wasn't, but by what he was. And I've been thinking about that a lot, because I think that many of us so-called enlightened folk fall into this negative definition trap, right? I am an ex-evangelical, or I'm an ex-Catholic, or I'm an ex-Mormon, or whatever it is. You know, I'm not like them. I don't believe what they believe. I have deconstructed my faith, right? So there is a safety in defining ourselves by what we are not, right? We don't have to say what we are. Unfortunately, that doesn't allow us to build, because you can't build with a negative, with a void. In the West, we got very excited about our new deconstruction tool right around the Enlightenment. And we set about deconstructing every single thing we could. And religion was one of the very first things in this reductionist dissection table. Religion was a construct. It was made by humans. It could be deconstructed. And since it could be deconstructed, it wasn't true. Well, my friends, water can be deconstructed into hydrogen and oxygen, but we will still die without water. Just because you can deconstruct something doesn't mean that it is meaningless or worthless or not real in its constructed form, the most reductionist version of things is not always the most useful or even the most true. Hydrogen and oxygen are not simply water's true form. Water is not a lie or an illusion. Now, straw man, devil's advocate, you may say, water is naturally occurring, but religion is a human construct. Okay, so are buildings. My house can be deconstructed into a pile of wood and bricks. That doesn't mean my house isn't real, or that a pile of wood and bricks is my house's true form. In fact, this analogy may work even better than I originally thought, because humans have evolved the way we have over the many millennia, in part because of increased security and shelter created by our human-made housing structures. And I personally don't think I would do very well without a human-made housing structure. I think I'd probably die a lot earlier, too. So likewise, humans have evolved with, what should I call it? Religion? Spirituality? I'm gonna go with faith. Faith goes back at least as far as written language, and if you take what anthropologists say about prehistoric sites like Göbekli Tepe to heart, faith is probably much, much older than that. And like our houses, our relationship to faith has also shaped who we've become. So I think it's important to look at our faith actively and figure out what our faith is, rather than avoid the question by only saying what it is not. And I know I fall into this too. I'm an apophatic, mystical agnostic. I was influenced by Catholic mystics, but like John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila and Meister Eckhart, who argued, you cannot say what God is, only what God is not. But that's God. And I am not talking about God, I am talking about faith. James Fowler famously wrote about the stages of faith development, which we religion nerds often simplify to faith being caught, taught, bought, sought, and wrought. And there's a sixth stage that is basically like Buddhahood, but no one's figured out how to make that one rhyme, so we only talk about the first 5. So, caught, taught, bought, sought, and wrought. In the first stage, often corresponding to early childhood, faith is picked up or caught by surrounding influences and synthesized by imagination without reflection. Now, in the second stage, often corresponding to preschool and young school-aged children, faith is taught and learned primarily through memorization of narrative and literal and rigid understandings of mythology, right and wrong. Then comes stage 3, bought. This is when the person in question brings their own sense of identity into the faith they were raised in and actively makes it a part of their self-image. They may question aspects, but the community benefit that they receive from conformity outweighs doubts. That is, they buy in. Fowler associates this stage with early and mid-adolescence, but many people stay here much longer, even throughout their lives. I'm sure some of us know people who have stayed in the buy-in phase. Now, Fowler's stage 4 is what we call the sought phase. That is the phase of the seeker. Fowler associates this with late adolescence and young adulthood. But in truth, this stage can happen anytime throughout adulthood as well. In this stage, the person begins actively questioning their faith. They say the quiet part out loud, and they bring their own reason and thoughts to bear on what they've been told to accept. Now, what usually happens during this phase is the person either creates a stronger, more personalized commitment to their tradition, or they deconstruct it completely and leave it behind. My friends, you love stage 4. In fact, so many of us are here because of stage 4, am I right? Lovers of leaving? Eh? And just like stage 3, many people stay here for years, decades, even the rest of their lives. I'm sure some of us know folks who have stayed in this phase of deconstruction, of spiritual rebellion, for years or decades. But the thing is, this is only stage 4. There are 2 more stages after this, my friends. And sure, stage 6 is Buddhahood, but stage 5 is pretty accessible. And in my opinion, deeply important. So, stage 5, the wrought phase. Wrought as in right, as in shipwright, as in one who builds. In this phase, we construct after the deconstruction. Because remember, we cannot live in deconstructed houses. We cannot drink deconstructed water. And we cannot guide our actions with deconstructed faith. Fowler assigns this stage to midlife, but you're never too old to build a faith that drives you to live more compassionately, more fully, and more aligned with your highest values. And I think you're never too young to start thinking about this as well. But what is faith? What is the faith that I'm talking about? So let's look at what Fowler says about it. He says, faith is a person or group's way of moving into the force field of life. It is our way of finding coherence in and giving meaning to the multiple forces and relationships that make up our lives. Faith is a person's way of seeing themselves in relation to others against a backdrop of shared meaning and purpose. Faith is the alignment of the will, a resting of the heart in accordance with a vision of transcendent value, one's ultimate concern. Faith is an orientation of the total person, giving purpose and goal to one's hopes and strivings, thoughts and actions. That's weird. Did he say anything about belief? I didn't see it. Oh, well, here's some more Fowler. If faith is reduced to belief in creedal statements and doctrinal formulations, then sensitive and responsible persons are likely to judge that they must live without faith. But if faith is understood as trust in another and loyalty to a transcendent center of value, then the issue of faith becomes lively again. To paraphrase Bob Dylan, you gotta serve something. Now, I know much more than I would like. My actions serve my ego, my fear, my various neuroses and anxieties. I'm going to tell you a personal story about something that just happened last week. So tomorrow is my birthday. Thank you. I will be 42. Which, according to Douglas Adams, means that is the age when I will find out the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Anyone? Stay tuned, I will let you know what I discover. But because I am now in my 40s, that means that I have to schedule yearly mammograms. This might be the first time a senior minister has talked about their mammograms in this church. Let's all be happy. So, these cause me a great deal of anxiety because of various anatomical specificities that I will not get into right here. And also because for the first 18 years of my life, I watched my maternal grandmother battle and eventually die from breast cancer. I also watched my mother support the most important person in her life through this long terminal journey, and I saw the toll it took on her. It was a major narrative of my childhood and adolescence. So last Wednesday, I woke up in an anxious state, and I realized I needed to schedule my yearly mammogram. Happy birthday to me. So strong was my anxiety that it led me to call before I had done anything else. I had not taken my morning walk. I had not eaten anything. I had not meditated. Fear and anxiety were just running the ship. I called the office at 7:30 a.m. And to my surprise, they were opened. And a woman answered who sounded like she absolutely wanted to be doing anything else. And I get it, right? Bad day. You are answering the phone at 7:30 a.m. We've all been there. But in the moment, her disinterest just heightened my anxiety even more. When she said she couldn't find my records, I snapped. Not at her exactly, but at everything. The dehumanizing American medical system, the cancer that took my grandmother, the fact of my own mortality. What the F? I said. I didn't even really say F, I said the other thing. How can you not find my records? There was a long pause before she spoke again. And when she did, I heard in her voice an added weariness. My heart sank. She was not to blame for the dehumanizing American medical system, the cancer that took my grandmother, or the fact of my own mortality. And I had just made her day worse. I had let my own fear put more suffering into the world. I added some milquetoast. I know it's not your fault, I'm just frustrated, but I couldn't take my outburst back. The kicker was, after I hung up, I realized it wasn't even her fault she couldn't find the records, because in my anxiety to call as soon as possible, I had called the wrong office. Your minister is the worst. Now, saying I'm an ex-Catholic does not help me be compassionate in situations of stress. Saying I don't believe in a patriarchal, punishing personal God doesn't either. Heck, not even saying that I'm progressive and believe in reproductive justice and LGBTQ rights does that. These are all beliefs, or negative beliefs, but they are not faith. Faith is what shapes what I do in large, grand actions as well as in small. Now, really, friends, English does us dirty here because faith should really be a verb. The words in the Bible, as well as other ancient spiritual texts that are translated as faith and belief, are always much closer in meaning to something like steadfastness in service of, or to set one's heart on, or to commit oneself to, rather than our modern understanding of belief as a type of opinion. In fact, the word belief in English even held more of an active devotional meaning until about the 16th and 17th centuries, just in time for our friend the Enlightenment to gleefully start deconstructing everything. So did you know that the term yoga doesn't refer to physical exercise? Does anybody know what the word yoga means? What?
Connecting breath to movement.
Yes.
Connect is close.
Yoke.
Right action.
Okay, yoke. Who said yoke? You win the prize. I don't know what it is, but you win it. So yoga, it means to bind. It actually comes from the same Indo-European root that our word yoke does. So it means to bind your action to your ideals, your highest values, your highest self. Actually, religion has a similar root. Ligio comes from a root that lends itself to our word ligament. So in a sense, religion was originally meant to be a type of yoga, that is a practice that helped folks bind their actions to their most sacred values. Now, it takes a lot of work to do this because as animals that evolved to survive in a harsh world, our actions are often default to selfish, frightened, ego-driven aims. The goal of things like yoga, of religion, is to help most of our actions serve our higher goals, what Fowler calls what we set our hearts on. So that is what I am striving to do more consistently, and what I invite us all to do as well. But fortunately, this is not a solitary endeavor. According to Fowler, faith is interactive and social. It requires community, language, ritual, and nurture. How will we welcome one another into this world of faith? How will we nurture one another to be strong, curious, and ever evolving in our faiths? My friends, I challenge us this year to truly begin to move beyond defining ourselves by what we are not. Now, some of us may be in earlier stages of deconstruction from former traditions, and that is fine. That is a natural part of the process of faith evolution. But our faith cannot end there. We must create a faith that allows us to act in alignment with and in service of our deepest, truest values. We must set our hearts on it. This will never be a one and done. We will always be creating and growing our faith. And we will always be co-creating and growing it together. Our high schoolers this year will be searching and constructing their own faith statements throughout the year, which we will all get to hear them deliver this spring. But frankly, I think all of us could benefit from creating a faith statement. So that is what we are going to do today. You should have some paper and pens. Don't do anything yet. But we're going to, no, you don't? Oh, you do? Great. Excellent. So don't do anything yet, but we are going to craft faith statements. And remember, faith changes and grows if we are doing it right. Because of this, I encourage all of us to keep our faith statements in mind as we participate in the church life this year. And through discussion and action with one another, I hope that we will all evolve and deepen our faith statements throughout the year. Then in spring, we'll open this time capsule of sorts and display all of our faith statements. And at that time, we will all have the opportunity to change or reevaluate or modify or replace what we have written. So I'm going to ask you in just a minute to write or draw your faith statement on the piece of paper. Have it be short, we're not looking for novels here, just a sentence, maybe two, or a picture of an image. And not a negative statement, nothing like I'm a former Mormon or I don't believe in God, or not even a positive statement of belief like I believe in reincarnation or I believe in reason or I believe in equal rights, but rather a statement of commitment and action. So I'm going to offer, when I get down there, I'm going to offer some guiding questions from Fowler that can help you create this statement of action. And feel free to put your name on it or not, but remember, in the spring they will be displayed, so just make sure that you phrase your faith statement in a way where you won't mind if others see it. So while you write and draw, I am going to be lighting the candle that we created together last June at the installation ceremony. If you weren't there, many of us poured our intentions into this candle, all of our intentions for our ministry together. And so we're going to burn it while we do this ritual, and may those intentions imbue our work here today. So wait, don't write yet, wait. Guiding questions from Fowler for this activity. What or who do you set your heart on? To what vision of right relatedness between humans, nature, and the transcendent are you loyal? What hope and what ground of hope animates you and gives shape to the force field of your life and how you move in it? one more time. And these are just guides. What or who do you set your heart on? To what vision of right relatedness between humans, nature, and the transcendent are you loyal? What hope and what ground of hope animates you and gives shape to the force field of your life and to how you move in it? When you've created your faith statement, please bring it up and leave it in the basket. My friends, I encourage you to hold this statement in your heart as you interact with your fellow congregants and friends throughout the year. Perhaps even bring it up in discussion. Hold it in your heart as you act in social action as well as in interaction with your fellow humans, and see how it wants to evolve. In the spring, when we lift these up again, we'll see how things have changed and move forward from there. Thank you for participating. Blessed be.
Let's close with hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine. In the Gray Book.
My friends, may we hold what we have set our hearts on dear, and may it guide our actions as we move through the force field of our lives. May we support and nurture one another so that we may live into, explore, and evolve our faiths. And may we all do so in patience, compassion, and love. May it be so.